Hello, I'm Matthew Wright, and I'm at the offices of Canadian Union Public Employees in Dieppe, New Brunswick, speaking with Iris Lloyd. She is a newly elected president of CUPE NB, representing over 27,000 workers in the public services sector across the province. She has worked as a school custodian since 2007, and for the past 6 years, she has served as president of CUPE 1253, the union representing workers in school districts such as bus drivers, trades, maintenance workers, and custodians. We're recording this interview on May the 1st, International Workers' Day. Thank you for joining us, Iris.
Thank you for having me, Matthew.
First of all, one of the big issues here in New Brunswick, as everybody knows right now, is the news of massive layoffs in the school system, affecting librarians, educational assistants, and other employees. How many of your members are affected?
So as of today, Matthew, we can't give an actual definitive answer on that. Not all 7 school districts have come forward with whatever cuts it is or that they have to make with their budgets. But as we know right now, it's about 35 library workers in Anglophone West that are potentially affected by these cuts.
Okay, and a follow-up question to that. Has there been any opportunities for these workers to get more training to go to another different type of work within the CUPE sector?
Right now, Matthew, we're still too new with the information that's come out, so we haven't actually looked at those possibilities at this time.
Now let's talk about your journey from the rank and file to union leadership. How did you get involved in the labor union?
So that for me started at pretty well a young age. So when I first started working, I come from the south end of St. John, so it was more of a poor neighborhood. And I started working back when I was 14 years old for the South End Community Center. And that gave me my involvement with the public, helping the kids during the summer. And from there, when I was in high school at St. John High, my guidance counselor told me at that time, you come from a poor neighborhood, your family isn't going to be able to afford to send you to university or you to be able to go, so you need to look for something, Iris, that would suit you for your future. So, it was a bit of a pullback for me where I had to really reconsider my life at that age and what I was going to do. And I knew something that I felt in my heart was about protecting the public and working with the public. So in 2007, I started working as a custodian at St. John High School. The custodians there, though, they were having quite a bit of issues. Being respected in the workplace. And very early on, I had decided that I wanted to be able to help represent those workers and be a voice for them. So my very first night, at St. John High School, there was a union meeting that night. And I decided to get myself involved. I went to the union meeting, got myself sworn in, and that night was elections. And they decided to give me the opportunity to sit on the St. John District Labor Council. So for a year and a half, I sat on the Labor Council, learning as much about labor in the city of St. John that I could. And then 2 years later, I became the first female president of the St. John District Labor Council. So that's what really gave me my push into the labor movement. After that, I attended the Labour College of Canada, which is a very intense 15-month course that is put on by the Labour College. And it was a great opportunity for me. And that's what really pushed me in my movement and my union activism. With the Labour College of Canada, what happens is the unions across the country, they choose who should be their representatives. So you could see about 18 to 20 graduates in a year. It was many years before that they had the Labour College of Canada, and then they stopped it. And then back in 2019, they recreated it. So I was part of the first cohort that graduated from Labour College.
Okay. And what memories do you bring from the Labour College?
The Labour College taught me many things, Matthew, that actually worked out very well in the 2021 strike. What we did was we looked at workers all across the world, really, and for strikes, what worked and what didn't work. And it actually taught me how to be able to negotiate with somebody like Premier Higgs, where that was a very, very intense negotiations, and Labor College taught me to be ready for that.
For him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Going forward with the labor movement and all these things, what programs do you see coming out of it as far as for opportunities for your members to basically be redeployed if their job gets cut because of all the cuts that are going to be happening?
That would be something that the unions would have to work together with the government to make sure that the laws, regulations, collective agreements, things like that are all, if we were ever to look into something that was a redeployment, we would have to consider all of that before we would even sign off into that to make sure that the members are protected and their collective agreement rights are protected as well.
You were president of CUPE 1253 during the big CUPE strike in 2021. In the middle of COVID pandemic, can you comment on the experience and what was learned? What was exactly learned?
There was many things learned for me, quite honestly. When I became president of CUPE 1253, that was in May of 2019. Mm-hmm. And then very early on with my presidency, COVID hit. And we had 5 months of where workers just didn't know what was going to happen, whether they were going to receive a pay. You know, they were very worried and concerned. I was worried and concerned myself. So very quickly, CUPE had organized a memorandum of agreement with the province that in order to have our members continue to be paid, especially in the education sector, we would be willing to get redeployed into sectors where the government needed us the most. So I made sure that if I was going to have my members get put on a redeployment list, I would be the first one to get redeployed if it were to happen. So I ended up, Matthew, going into the liquor stores in Quispan and Kennevicasis and working in the liquor stores, cleaning up for them, doing COVID cleaning the first few months of COVID. And what that taught me is that led me into the 2021 strike. I knew what it was that was affecting our members, and it was money. You know, we said in the 2021 strike, what is it that we were going for was wages, wages, wages. And with that 21 strike, we actually got the 2.25%, which was the best wage increases my membership has seen in many, many years. Mm-hmm. So it taught me how to be a leader. It taught me to not just look for what benefited me, but really what benefits the members. And also, how do we protect New Brunswickers from the pandemic and then the strike of 2021? The 2.25% for my custodians and bus drivers amounted to about $3 an hour. So it was one of the biggest wage increases that our membership has ever seen.
Yeah. So under the Higgs government, your members were forced into a so-called shared risk pension. Now the Liberals under Susan Holt are replacing that legislation. Your comment on this change in direction?
I'd like to actually thank the whole government for giving CUPE and giving union members across this province our right to free collective bargaining, because that is essentially what Higgs took away from us, was our right to free collective bargaining. Mm-hmm. It was more than just pensions for CUPE members. It was really our right to be able to bargain fairly. We had, in the 2021 strike, to come off of strike, we had signed on to a memorandum of agreement of an understanding that we would enter into pension negotiation talks. And what Higgs essentially did was took that away with that Bill 17. And it gave us no longer our right to free collective bargaining.
When you were saying that under the new Bill 17, how did that exactly take away your rights to free collective bargaining?
Good question, Matthew. So under the collective agreement of CUPE 1253, it's actually Article 24. So our pensions are actually articles under the collective agreement. Mm-hmm. So essentially what he did when he set up Bill 17, he took away our right to free collective bargain articles that were already in our collective agreement.
So what are some of the top priorities for CUPE here in 2025?
So some of our key priorities, when I look inside of CUPE, we'll be remobilizing from within and rebuilding our membership. We are going to be looking at having young workers conferences because we know within CUPE we need to build our young workers up so that eventually they can someday take over the reins. We're also looking at having new worker conferences. So that's for new Canadians that come into the province of New Brunswick. As CUPE members, we want to be able to make it as comfortable and that we can to have them come into their union meetings and feel that their voices are being heard and recognized.
You becoming president at a time when Trump administration is causing major chaos.
Yes.
With examples including the trade war, all the annexation threats, and a racist mass deportation campaign. What is the role of organized labor in fighting this movement?
I think our role really is going to make sure that our members' voices and workers' voices in Canada are not left behind. That any of these decisions that these governments are making, especially the Trump government, that it doesn't affect the members and all the workers, whether a unionized worker or not, in the province of New Brunswick and in Canada, really.
Yeah. Finally, the federal election that just happened here on April the 28th, Mark Carney was elected our new Prime Minister with a minority Liberal government. Meanwhile, the NDP, which is traditionally a political arm of organized labor, lost a lot of seats to the Conservatives. Your comment?
First, I'd like to thank Jagmeet Singh for all the work that he has done for workers across this country. He was essential with that Liberal government of getting the extra things that Canadians have seen the last few years. And it's a real shame that we are losing Jagmeet's voice in government. With a new Liberal government, I think it's important to have Labor's voice heard. We'll need the NDP that are in the House right now they're going to have to be the ones that voice our Labor's voice. And what we really need from Prime Minister Carney is to make sure that workers' voices are heard and protected all across the country. Like, we know that there's going to be many changes that are happening with Trump and everything that's going on south of the border, but we have to make sure that workers and residents across this country are protected. I think our future right now is building up our young workers. They are going to be our future, educating them on how to fight back these right-wing governments so that workers' voices are heard at all tables across the country.
Okay, I thank you very much.
Thank you.
I've been speaking with Lloyd, newly elected president of CUPE New Brunswick. Thanks so much for joining us today from NB Media Co-op. I'm Matthew Wright in Dieppe, New Brunswick.